I want you to look at my hands for a moment. They are dry. They are spotted with age. They shake just a little bit when I hold them still. These hands have worked for 80 years. They have signed contracts that I thought would change the world. They have gripped steering wheels of cars I couldn't afford. They have held the tiny, soft fingers of newborns, and now they are mostly empty. I'm sitting here in this chair, and the house is quiet. It's very quiet. I spent 60 years of my life building a mountain, only to realize, once I reached the top, that I was standing on it all alone. I'm 92 years old now. Most of my friends are gone. My wife, the woman who knew the sound of my breath better than I did, has been gone for 10. I have all the time in the world now to think, and that is the heaviest burden of all. Thinking, remembering, realizing that I spent the best decades of my life trading my limited hours for things that didn't love me back. I want to tell you what I've found at the end of the road. Not because I'm a genius, I'm not. I'm just someone who has walked the whole path and can see where the holes are. I'm going to tell you in 12 minutes what took me 6 decades of pain to understand. Please, for your own sake, don't wait 60 years to hear it. When I was 30, I was a man on fire. I thought the world was a series of locks, and I was the only one with the master key. I worked 14 hours a day. I told myself I was doing it for my family. That was the lie I told myself every morning. I said I was building a future. But the truth was, I was feeding an ego. I wanted to be the man who was needed. I wanted the title. I wanted the respect of people whose names I can't even remember today. I remember one Tuesday evening. My daughter was maybe 6 years old. She came into my office with a drawing. It was a picture of a house with a giant sun. I didn't even look up from my ledger. I told her, "Not now, sweetheart. Daddy is busy. Daddy is working for you." She walked out quietly. I didn't see the look on her face. I didn't realize that in that moment, I wasn't working for her. I was working against her. I was stealing her father away to buy a bigger television or a faster car. I thought life was a race. I thought if I just ran fast enough, I'd reach a finish line where I could finally sit down and be happy, but the finish line is a ghost. It keeps moving. I want to tell you about a friend I had back then. His name was Arthur. We started at the same firm. We were both hungry, but Arthur had this strange habit of leaving at 5 o'clock sharp, every day. I used to mock him for it. I called him the clock watcher. I told him he'd never make partner if he didn't put in the midnight oil. He just smiled at me. He had this calm in his eyes that used to irritate me because I didn't have it. One Friday, he invited me to his house for a barbecue. I told him I had a report to finish. He said, "The report will be there on Monday, but my son's first home run only happens once." I stayed at the office. I got the promotion. Arthur stayed a middle manager. I thought I won. It took me 40 years to realize Arthur was the one who was wealthy. He was rich in memories while I was just accumulating paper. When Arthur passed away 5 years ago, his funeral was packed with people who had stories about how he showed up for them. When I look at my own calendar, I wonder who would show up for me if I didn't have anything to give them. Are you chasing a title that will be replaced on a door the day after you die? Or are you building something that lives in people's hearts? By 50, I was at the height of my power, and that's when the pride really started to rot me from the inside. I thought I was untouchable. I stopped listening to my wife, Martha. She'd try to tell me she was lonely, and I'd point at the diamond on her finger or the renovations in the kitchen. I thought I could buy my way out of intimacy. I was so arrogant that I believed my presence was a gift she should be grateful for, even if I was physically there but mentally miles away. I remember a specific night. We were sitting at a high-end restaurant for our 25th anniversary. I spent half the dinner on a conference call. When I finally put the phone down, she was just staring at her water glass. She didn't look angry. She looked extinguished. She said, "I'd rather eat a sandwich on a park bench with a man who sees me than sit here with a ghost." I laughed it off. I told her she was being dramatic, but I wasn't being a husband. I was being a landlord of a house I refused to live in. That pride, that belief that you are the sun and everyone else is just a planet revolving around your important life, it's a poison. It drives away the very people you are supposedly doing it all for. Have you ever been in a room with someone you love and felt 1,000 miles away? Why are you hiding from the people who actually know you? The turning point didn't happen with a lightning bolt. It happened in a sterile room with white walls and the smell of bleach. I was 64. I had a minor heart scare, not enough to kill me, but enough to bench me for a month. I remember sitting in that hospital bed, looking at the clock on the wall. The second hand just kept moving. Tick, tick, tick. It didn't care about my bank balance. It didn't care about my unfinished projects. For the first time in my life, I couldn't do anything. I was just a body in a gown. My son came to visit me. He was 30 then. He sat by my bed, and we had nothing to talk about. We were strangers who shared a last name. I realized I knew his resume, but I didn't know his heart. I didn't know what he was afraid of. I didn't know what made him laugh when he was alone. He looked at me with a kind of polite pity. He was busy, just like I had taught him to be. He checked his watch 3 times in 20 minutes. He was me. And seeing him be me was the most painful thing I had ever experienced. I saw that I had passed on the disease of busy. I had taught him that love is a secondary priority to achievement. I sat there after he left and I cried. Not because I was sick, but because I realized I'd spent 60 years building a life, but I had forgotten to actually live it. I want to tell you something about loneliness that no one mentions. It isn't just about being alone. The most profound loneliness I ever felt was in my 70s, when I finally had all the time in the world and no one to share it with. Martha got sick. It was fast. Within 6 months, the house went from a place of quiet tension to a place of absolute silence. After she died, I found a notebook she kept. It wasn't a diary of big events. It was a list of small things she loved. The way the light hits the blue vase at 4 p.m., the sound of the rain on the porch, the hope that one day he'll stay for dessert. I read that last line and it broke me. I realized that for 40 years, I had rushed through dessert to get back to a computer screen. I had sacrificed the now for a later that never arrived for her. I spent my 70s wandering through a house filled with expensive furniture that felt like museum pieces. I was surrounded by success, and it couldn't boil me a cup of tea or tell me a joke. Loneliness at 90 is a physical weight. It's the realization that you traded the only currency that matters, time, for a currency that has no value at the finish line. Do you know what the most expensive thing in your house is? It's not the art or the car. It's the hours you spent away from your family to pay for them. Was it worth the price? The lesson I learned is so simple that you might want to dismiss it. But simple things are usually the truest. The truth is this: life is not a mountain to be climbed. It is a garden to be tended. We are obsessed with the peak. We think the view from the top will justify the climb, but you don't live at the peak. You live in the climbing. You live in the small, unremarkable moments that you're currently trying to rush through. Here is the first thing I need you to understand. Your legacy is not what you leave behind in a will. It's the way people feel when they stand next to you right now. I spent so much time worrying about being great that I forgot to be good. I forgot that being a hero to your family is infinitely more important than being a hero to your industry. When you are 90, no one will talk about your quarterly growth. They will talk about the time you sat on the floor and played blocks with them. They will talk about how you listened. They will talk about the way you made them feel safe. Are you making the people around you feel safe? Or are you making them feel like they are an interruption? Second, you must understand that later is a lie. We live our lives as if we have an infinite supply of Tuesdays. We don't. You have a very specific, numbered amount of mornings left. I used to say, we'll go on that trip when I retire, or I'll start painting again when the kids are grown. But by the time I retired, my knees were bad and my wife's energy was gone. By the time the kids were grown, I had forgotten how to be creative. The things you are putting off because you're too busy are the only things that actually matter. The work will always be there. The emails will never stop. But the window of opportunity to be young, to be healthy, to be present, that window is slamming shut a little more every single day. If you want to do something, do it today. If you want to say something, say it now. Regret is much heavier than failure. I can live with the things I did wrong. I find it very hard to live with the things I never did at all. I've had a lot of time to look at the sky lately. When you reach 90, your perspective on time changes. When you are young, time feels like a river you are swimming in. You think you can fight the current. You think you can swim upstream. But when you get older, you realize time isn't a river. It's more like a handful of sand. The harder you squeeze it, the faster it disappears between your fingers. I spent so many years trying to manage time. I bought planners. I downloaded apps. I tried to optimize every minute. What a fool I was. You can't manage time. You can only choose what you worship. I worship productivity, and productivity is a cruel god. It never says well done. It only says more. I wish I had worshipped stillness instead. I wish I had understood that the most productive thing you can ever do is sit quietly with someone you love and let the world go on without you for an hour. The world doesn't need you as much as you think it does. It will keep spinning when you're gone, but the people in your life, they need you. They need the version of you that isn't checking a watch. Can you give them that? Can you give yourself that? I want to talk to you directly now. Not the you that you show to the world. I'm talking to the person sitting there, maybe feeling a little tired, maybe feeling like life is slipping through your fingers. You are not stuck. You are not your past mistakes. You are not your job title. You are a human being with a heart that is still beating. That beat is a gift. It's an invitation. There's a secret I want to tell you about the end of life. It's something nobody tells you when you're 40 or 50 because they're too afraid of it. The secret is that at the end, the only things that remain are the things you gave away. The money you kept stays in the bank. The pride you held on to dies with your ego. But the kindness you showed to a stranger, the patience you had with your child when you were exhausted, the forgiveness you gave to someone who didn't deserve it, those things are eternal. They ripple out long after you've stopped breathing. I look back now, and the moments I'm most proud of aren't the awards on my wall. They are the moments when I was weak enough to be human, the moments I asked for help, the moments I admitted I was wrong. We spend our lives building armor, thinking it makes us strong, but the armor is what keeps the love out. Take off the armor. It's too heavy to carry for 90 years anyway. What would you do today if you knew that in 30 years, you'd look back on this moment and wish you could live it just one more time? Because I'm telling you, from the future, that is exactly what will happen. I would give every penny I have, every award I ever won, just to have one more ordinary Wednesday when my children were young and my back didn't ache. I would spend it differently. I wouldn't check my phone. I wouldn't worry about the deadline. I would just sit. I would look at the light coming through the window. I would listen to the voices of the people I love. I would be there, really there. Are you there, or are you somewhere else, worrying about a tomorrow that isn't promised? Think about your regrets for a second. We all have them. But I want to tell you about my biggest one. It wasn't a business failure. It wasn't even a missed opportunity. It was the way I treated my own soul. I spent 60 years being my own harshest critic. I spoke to myself in a way I would never speak to a friend. I told myself I wasn't doing enough. I told myself I had to be perfect. I was so busy trying to be the man that I forgot to be a friend to myself. I see so many of you doing the same thing. You are so hard on yourselves. You think that your self-criticism is what drives you, but it's not. It's just what exhausts you. If I could go back, I would be gentler. I would tell that 30-year-old man, it's okay. You're enough. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. When was the last time you were truly kind to yourself? Not an indulgence, not a shopping trip, but true, deep kindness. The kind of kindness that says, you've had a long day and it's okay to just rest. I'm tired now. Talking takes more out of me than it used to. But I wanted to say this to you. I needed to say it. My time is mostly behind me, but yours is right here. It's right now. It's in the very next breath you take. Don't waste it. Don't spend it on things that won't matter at 90. Go hug someone. Go outside and feel the sun. Tell the truth. Forgive that person you've been holding a grudge against. It's only poisoning you anyway. Be kind to yourself. You're doing the best you can, but remember that the best you can should include being happy. Not successful, happy. There is a difference. I hope you find it sooner than I did. Life is so much shorter than you think, and yet it is so much deeper than you imagine. We are all just walking each other home. That's all this is. We aren't here to win. We aren't here to conquer. We are here to see each other, to really see each other, to help each other through the dark parts of the woods, and to celebrate when we find a clearing. When you get to my age, you realize that the most beautiful thing in the world isn't a sunset or a masterpiece. It's a face you've known for 50 years, looking back at you with love. That's the treasure. Everything else is just noise. I'm going to close my eyes for a little while now, but before I do, I want you to promise me something. Promise me you'll stop running for just 1 hour today. Sit still. Listen to your heart. Remember that you are a miracle that only happens once. The world is waiting for you to actually show up, not just your ghost. Now go. The clock is ticking, but it's a beautiful sound if you know how to listen to it. I think I'll sit here a while longer. The sun is just starting to set, and for the first time in 60 years, I'm not in a hurry to be anywhere else. I'm just here, and that is enough. It was always enough. The greatest tragedy of life isn't that it ends, but that we wait so long to begin it.